For the kite grave, let me chain! For the kite grave, let me chain!
It was snowing in London, England on Christmas Eve. Ebenezer Scrooge, the richest man in town, hurried toward his office.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, someone
Bah,
shouted.
humbug!
Bah humbug, Scrooge muttered. He didn't know why everyone had to be so cheerful at Christmas time.
Bah,
When
humbug!
Scrooge reached the door to his office, he looked up at the sign.
Merry Christmas!
It read Scrooge and
Bah,
Marley,
humbug!
but Marley's name was crossed out. He'd been dead for 7 years.
Merry
Scrooge and
Christmas,
Jacob Marley
bah,
had
humbug!
tricked people who didn't have much into giving them money. They had gotten very rich
bah,
and hadn't
humbug!
cared that they'd been unfair. Scrooge cackled as he thought of all his money.
Merry Christmas!
Bob Cratchit,
Bah,
Scrooge's
humbug!
clerk, was just about to throw a piece of coal into the stove when Scrooge walked in.
What are you doing? You used a piece last week.
What are you doing?
Get back to work.
Scrooge growled.
Speaking of work,
I was
Mr.
just
Scrooge.
trying to thaw out the ink, Bob replied.
What are you doing?
He gave his boss a small but hopeful smile.
Speak tomorrow, Miss Scrooge.
Scrooge knocked the coal out of Bob's hand and scowled. You used a piece last week. Get back to work, he said. Bob quickly turned back to his desk. After a few moments, Bob snuck a glance at his boss. Then he
Very
said,
well.
Speaking of work, Mr. Scrooge, tomorrow is Christmas,
Just trying
and I was
to-
just wondering if I might have the day off. Scrooge was silent for a long time. Very well, he finally said. But make sure you come in early the day after. Scrooge hung up his jacket
For
and
the
hat.
kite grave,
Then
let
he sat
me
down
chain!
at his desk and began to count his money. Ha ha ha! Money, money, money! He crowed. Suddenly, the door burst open.
Merry
A
Christmas!
young man carrying a
Christmas!
wreath
Bah,
walked in.
humbug!
Merry
Uncle,
Christmas,
I've come to invite
the
you to
man
Christmas
said.
dinner tomorrow.
It was Scrooge's
Merry
nephew,
Christmas! Christmas, bah
Christmas?
humbug!
Fred. Scrooge
Uncle,
scoffed.
I've come
Bah
to invite
humbug.
you to Christmas dinner
Fred
tomorrow.
walked up to Scrooge's desk and gave him the wreath. He thought the office could use some
Uncle,
holiday cheer.
I've come to invite you to Christmas dinner
Uncle, I've
tomorrow.
come to invite you to Christmas dinner tomorrow. Fred
Christmas?
said with a
Bah,
smile.
humbug!
Oh?
Uncle, I've come to
Scrooge
invite you to
asked as he
Christmas
came
dinner
out from
tomorrow.
behind his desk.
And will there be plum pudding and sugar cakes and a plump roast goose? Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
And will
Fred
there be
replied.
plum pudding
He
and
nodded
sugar
his head and
cakes and a
smacked
plump
his lips.
roast goose?
You know I can't
Oh,
eat that
yes.
stuff.
Oh,
Now get out.
And will there be plum
Scrooge got
pudding
up
and
and
sugar
opened the door.
cakes and a plump
He hung
roast
the wreath
goose?
over Fred's neck
Oh,
and pushed
yes.
his nephew out
Oh.
into the cold. As Scrooge walked back to his
And
desk,
there
the
is
door
plum
opened
roast
again.
goose.
Fred smiled and
Oh,
hung the wreath
and
on
will
the
there be
inside
plum
doorknob.
pudding and sugar cakes
Then
and
he
a
closed
plump
the door.
roast goose?
Later that
Oh,
night, as
yeah.
Scrooge walked home, he had a strange feeling that he was being followed.
It
When he
means
reached
a
his front
lot
door,
to
he looked
money
at the
who
knob. It was a lion's head. But as Scrooge
Ebenezer,
stared
do you
at
know
it,
who I
it
am?
began
When I
to
was alive,
change
I robbed
before
from
his
widows
eyes.
and took money.
Suddenly, Scrooge was looking at the face of his old partner, Jacob Marley.
And took money from the poor.
Scrooge yelled. Scrooge hurried inside and up to his bedroom.
Ebenezer,
Closed the
do you
door
know
and
who I
climbed into
am?
his chair.
When I...
He heard the sound of clanking chains. He shivered. too afraid to
Ebenezer,
move.
do you know
Then
who
a
I am?
ghost
When
appeared beside him. It was Jacob Marley. He was covered in heavy chains. Ebenezer,
do
the
know
ghost wailed.
who-
He rattled his chains. Do you know who I am?
We're going to visit
Scrooge
your
peered
past
at the
tonight.
ghost from under his
Just
top
hold on.
hat. When I was alive, I robbed from widows and took money from the poor.
Ebenezer, do you know who I am?
You were a fine partner, Jacob, Scrooge said with a smile. Jacob replied. I was wrong, and now I have to carry these chains forever as punishment.
Humbug.
I am
The
the
same
ghost of
thing will
Christmas
happen
past.
to
We're
you.
going to visit your past tonight.
You will be visited by 3 spirits.
Humbug.
If you don't listen to them, your chains will be heavier
We're
than
going to
mine.
visit your past tonight.
Then Jacob's ghost disappeared. Scrooge was still shaking with fear as he got ready for bed. After checking his room for more ghosts, he climbed under the covers. Humbug, he muttered. Then he fell asleep. But it wasn't long before a noise woke him up.
Humbug.
I am the ghost
Ding,
of Christmas
ding,
past. We're going to
ding.
visit your
His
past
clock bell
tonight.
was ringing. Scrooge opened his eyes to find a
Humbug.
little cricket in a top hat on his bedside
We're going to
table.
visit your past
I am the
tonight.
ghost of Christmas past, the cricket said. We're going to visit your past tonight. The ghost went to the window and pushed it open.
Humbug.
Just hold on.
I am the ghost of
said
Christmas
as he
past.
hopped
We're going to
into
visit your
Scrooge's
past
hand.
tonight. Just hold on.
Scrooge did as the
Humbug.
cricket said,
I
and
am
they
the ghost
flew out
of Christmas
into the
past.
darkness.
We're going to visit
The
your
city
past
passed
tonight.
slowly
Just
beneath
hold
them
on.
as they flew high above
Humbug.
snow-covered rooftops. The first stop Scrooge and the ghost of Christmas past made was at a little shop. A party was taking place inside. Scrooge looked through the window. It's old
10 years'
Fezziwigs,
time, you learn to love
he
something
exclaimed.
else much more.
He saw his old boss and many of
Let me
his
call Rita
dearest
Sonia,
friends
Cottage.
laughing and dancing inside. Then he saw
Tomorrow, just
Isabel,
wondering
the girl he had
if I
once
might
loved.
have the day off.
She was
Very
dancing
well.
with a young man.
Surely
him,
they have more
back
food than
before he
that,
had become a
Tiny
greedy
Tim.
old
We
man.
must thank Mr.
As if
Scrooge.
reading Scrooge's mind, the ghost said,
Surely they
"In
have
10
more
years'
food
time,
than that.
you learn to love
We
something
must
else
thank
much
Mr.
more."
Scrooge.
"I have,"
Are
Scrooge
you-
replied.
Well,
The
my
last
dear
payment on
friends,
your cottage
it
was
seems
late.
we found ourselves in
Then he
quite the
told her
merry
he was taking the
predicament.
cottage away. Isabel began to cry. As Scrooge watched, he shook his head. "Remember, Scrooge," the ghost said, "you made these
Ebenezer.
memories."
Have you made a
Scrooge
decision
found
about
himself
getting
back in his
married?
bed again. Then he heard a loud voice say, "I am the ghost of Christmas present." Scrooge looked up and saw a giant. The giant lifted him up and carried him out into the night. He brought
Father
Scrooge to a
grave.
shabby little
Let
house.
me change.
Through the window, Scrooge saw
Whose
Bob
lonely
Cratchit
grave
with his
is
family.
this?
They were having
Change.
Christmas
Let
dinner.
me change.
On the table sat the smallest bird Scrooge had ever seen. "Surely they have more food than this," he whispered. Then a smaller boy hobbled into the room on a crutch. His name was Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim looked at the meal on the table. "We must thank Mr. Scrooge," he exclaimed. Scrooge turned around to ask about Tiny Tim, but the ghost was gone. He was all alone in a graveyard. Suddenly, he saw a dark figure. "Are you the ghost of Christmas future?" Scrooge asked. The ghost was silent. He pointed to a gravestone. The spirit showed Scrooge another scene. Isabel and Scrooge were in his counting house.
Spirits have given me another
"Ebenezer,"
chance.
Isabel said softly. "Have you made a decision
I'm
about getting
giving you
married?"
a-
Scrooge saw the
The
Cratchit
spirits
family
have given me
without
another
Tiny Tim.
chance.
They were near his grave,
Let me
crying.
call them.
The spirit pointed to an empty pit. "Whose lonely grave is this?" Scrooge
I'm giving
asked.
you a raise.
Then he realized it was his. "I can change," Scrooge cried. "Let me change." Suddenly, Scrooge was in his bed again. He ran to the window and looked outside. The sun was shining. The streets were covered with snow. Christmas bells were ringing. "It's Christmas morning," he cried. "The spirits have given me another chance." He pulled on his hat and coat and ran outside. "Merry Christmas," he called to everyone. He saw his nephew, Fred, on the
Spirits
street.
have given me another
"I'm
chance.
looking forward to that wonderful meal of yours," he
Cratchit,
called as he
I'm
ran
giving you
by.
a
Bob Cratchit
spirits have
heard a
given me
loud
another
knock on
chance.
his front door. He
Let me
opened it
call
to find
them.
Mr. Scrooge on the
Give it
step,
mine.
holding a large bag. Scrooge dumped the sack on the floor.
I'm giving you a raise.
Dozens of toys fell out.
I'm giving you a
Scrooge smiled as the children rushed forward happily. "Bob Cratchit," Scrooge said, "I'm giving you a raise and making you my partner." Then he handed a large turkey to Mrs. Cratchit. "Merry Christmas," he said happily. "Merry Christmas to us all," said Tiny Tim.